In this video, I'm going to demonstrate first upgrading to the 2.x branch of Delta CLI, and then I'm going to go over the new Slack notification features that are built in. Now I've got a WordPress project here that's already been set up with Delta CLI, but I am on the 1.x branch of the CLI tools. I need to upgrade to 2.0 to get these new features. We have decided to make this a major version bump because it will require that you go through a couple of extra steps when you do your deploys. So do this upgrade when you've got a minute or two to go through those extra steps, and otherwise you shouldn't really need to make any changes. So to get the upgrade, I'm going to do composer global require delta systems / delta CLI : caret 2.0. That's going to tell Composer to keep me on the 2.x branch. So when we go to 3.0, whenever that happens, you'll need to do a similar upgrade process. I'll go ahead and run that, and this should get me the newest version on the 2.x branch from GitHub. Should just take a second. There we go. So now if I do my delta-v command again, I can see that I'm on 2.1.1. Now, my deploy script is already written for this project. We're going to look at our environment real quick to see what we've got to work with. So we've got our Brad dev environment, and that, as you can see, is a dev environment, so it's actually not going to get our notifications. So before we really dig into this, we're going to set up an additional environment. But before we do that, I want to show what's going on here in 2.0. So you can see on our deploy script, we automatically have this additional step here, log and send notifications. This is added to the deploy script out of the box on 2.0, but you can add it to any script you want if you want to send notifications to your team members whenever you make a change or whenever you run that script. So, like I said, dev environments will skip that step automatically because you don't really want to tell people when you're pushing to your own dev environment. So we're going to set up a staging environment here that's not marked as being dev. Just going to use the B. Griffith username. We'll have to install this SSH key, but we'll do that in a second. And we'll put this on the same host, same basic idea. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and install the SSH key on that new staging environment. There we go. Let's just test and make sure that worked by getting ourselves an SSH shell. Okay, looks good. We're able to hop in there without a password, so we know the key is installed. Now I can go ahead and run my deploy, and we'll do it against that environment. I'm going to do a dry run real quick. And we can see that we're just about ready to go, but we do have this issue here. Our git status is clean failed because in this example I'm actually not on a git checkout. So when we run the actual script, I'm going to go ahead and skip that step. I'm going to say skip step, git status is clean. And then we're going to just run it and see what happens. So I've already got my Delta API account set up, so I didn't have to do anything for the setup, but you can see that this project did not have its own Delta API key, so it created one for me automatically. Then we can see here that it's asking that I commit that Delta API key for this project back to Git. So you would do that typically. You can see the key sitting here, delta API.json. You want to throw that in Git just so other team members who are working with Delta CLI don't have to create a duplicate key for the project. It's best if you use the same key. We'll see why in a little bit here. The next thing to note is this log and send notifications is ready to run at the end of this script message. Now, that is telling us that when we get to the end of the script, we're actually going to log and send the notifications. The reason we do it that way is so you can drop that step onto your script at any point and be guaranteed that it's going to get the results of the entire script run. You're not halfway through that you dropped in that step and then there's 10 steps after that you didn't catch with the notification. So we can see here that it sent the notification. So if I hop over to Slack and I go to the deploy room, we can see here that it logged all of these steps, and it even tells me when one was skipped. So the get status was clean. That was skipped here. It shows the warning that I haven't set up my Git branch on the environment and all of that as well. So I can get a very good feel for what actually went on with this sync. Now, if I had had actual file changes on the rsync command, those would show up in Slack too, as you can see here from an earlier run. And any other output that your script generates is going to show up here. So we can see I've got db deploy, and I can actually see the output from db deploy right in Slack. So that's very handy. Now, the Slack notifications are nice, but you can also take a look at the delta log command to get a feel for what's been going on a project. So I just looked at delta log, and I see that the deploy script was run on staging by bgriffith@deltasys.com at this date and time. If I wanted more details, I can turn on verbose mode, and that's going to show me the actual steps that were run. I can get even more detail by going very verbose. That's going to give me the output from each step in addition to the status of the step. You can filter this further on the log command by saying script equals and then a script name. So in this case it would be deploy. If I pick some other script name at this point, let's say run test, that would return no results because we don't have anything in the log for other scripts. So you can do that, or you can do an environment name. So I can say environment equals production if I wanted to filter to only production runs. Of course, that's not going to return anything. So let's put it back to staging. We'll get rid of our script filter here, and that's going to bring back that one entry again. So that's how you can check out the log for your project if you missed the notification in Slack maybe. Now you probably noticed that by default the notification went into the deploy Slack channel. I kind of like it going there by default. That way people, even if they're not on your project, can hop in and kind of see what's been going on that day, who's been pushing to various environments. However, you can use a custom Slack channel. So if I say project set Slack channel, and then a channel name, so let's say we're going to throw this in general, that would switch the channel. Also helpful though, you can say add Slack handle, and you can add as many of these as you want, and these people will be @messaged whenever this project sends a notification. So let's go ahead and run one more time here. We're going to deploy to staging again. It'll go through the whole process. It sent our notification, and we can see now that we've got two @messages. So we will get notified a little bit more aggressively. You know, we won't just have this little red dot on our Slack icon. We might actually get a desktop notification or be buzzed on our phone or what have you, however you have your settings. So that is the build notification and logging stuff that's built into Delta CLI 2.0. if you have any trouble with it, let me know, but it should just automatically drop into your deploy scripts. The one other thing I'll note before we wrap up is the workflow when you don't have an API key set up yet. So, like I mentioned, I've already got my account configured. So it's got this delta API.json in my home folder. So I won't ever have to do that again on a project unless, let's say I go to a different computer and I don't have that file anymore. Then the first time I run a script that integrates with Delta API, it's going to start this workflow as soon as I run the script, before any steps have executed. So I can, at this point, say whether I have a Delta API account or not. If I didn't, I would say no here, and I would give it an email address. Now, you can't just give it any email address. If I say griffbrad@gmail.com, it's going to tell me it has to be a deltasys.com or voltagekc.com email address. Once I enter that, I'm going to get an email roughly like this a few minutes later. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag for some reason on the current server we're using for the API. You're going to throw this verification code into your terminal. Choose a password for your account so that if you do ever have to log in to retrieve your API key, you can do that. And then it's going to store that API key in the file I showed earlier, the delta-api.json. So that's how you get up and running the first time you do this. Usually only takes a few minutes, mostly just to wait for this email to show up. And after that, you never have to run it again on any of your projects unless you switch machines. I think that's it. Like I said, let me know if you have any issues, and